Hello. It's the Color Whisperer here. And this is where we talk about all things home and healing. And both of them are very much entwined because you got to have a healthy and happy home in order for you to feel good, right? So today it is a blustery day here in LA. Oh my gosh, we've got so much rain coming. Apparently, there's actually a blizzard warning. Now, what that means is a blizzard warning in the mountains, not so much where most of us live, because our ground, we never get, maybe we get hail once in a while. It lasts like half an hour and doesn't stay on the ground very long. But it is cold here. And looking at Facebook this morning, looks like a lot of you are having a lot of cold. So, a couple tips to help you with that. First of all, if you have any warm colors in your home, spend your time in that room. This room has got a lot of red in it. And so this is the warmest room in my house because it makes you feel when you're surrounded by warm colors, it gives you the idea that it's warmer. It tricks your body. So that's a great way to lower your heating bill as well. And put on all your colors. Now, I happen to be wearing, these are my warmest things, but wear your reds, wear your oranges, get as much of that heat from the color onto your body, and that will help you to reduce your heating bills as well because you won't be so cold. It's kind of wild to think of that the colors around us or the colors we're wearing affects us that much, but it's true. A fun little experiment to do if you want to see it and test it is put something blue in one hand and put something red in another hand and close your eyes and mix them up. You just do it with paint chips because you can't tell. They both feel the same, right? And you're going to feel one hand get warmer and the other hand get cooler. And then you open your eyes and you'll know which one's red. I mean, you can feel what the warmer one will be red and you can open it. So you can actually feel the difference. So that's my stay warm tip for today because I think we all need it. So I'm hanging out. This room's got a lot of red in it and I'm hanging out in here today. Let me tell you. So today we're going to talk a lot about a healthy and healing home. And one of the things we're going to talk about, or the big thing we're going to talk about today, is called aging in place. None of us want to admit we're aging. We cover up the gray hair. We like to disguise all that, but it's happening whether we like it or not. They keep changing the name for aging in place because, like I said, people don't want to think about aging. And what does that mean? So it's also about being ADA compliance and like, well, why do you need that in your home, right? And the truth is you never know when you're going to need it. I had a client years ago and she was very healthy, 40, perfect size 2, ate everything she's supposed to eat, exercised every day. She owned a gym. You check off the list of what healthy means, she had it. She's also very much of a sports person. She was only 40 years old, but she went skiing. And guess what? She tore her leg up big time, ripped some muscle in her leg, and she was in a wheelchair for about 2 months. Now, if she had been in her old house, which was a great, cute little 1930 house, historic home, adorable, but it was not built for ADA compliance. And she said she would have never been able to get out of her living room. And she wouldn't have been able to function. She wouldn't have been able to use the bathroom. She wouldn't have been able to get food in her kitchen for herself because everything was so small. It just wasn't designed to accommodate the wheelchair. Fortunately, she had just moved into a house that was full ADA compliance. And when she bought it, she was like, well, it's a nice feature, but it certainly wasn't a selling feature for her because she didn't expect to need anything for quite some time, if ever. And there she was in a wheelchair, and it was like every day was a new discovery. I was like, oh, and this works, and this works. And for the first week, as her throughout her recovery, as her abilities changed, she saw just how important it was to have this home be ADA compliant, and how much easier it made it for her during this time period where she was not able to function at her normal place. She did get all healed. Everything's fine. She went back to her, she went back skiing, doing exercising, and everything. So she's healthy, but having a home that helps you be healthy is really, really important. So I'm going to go through some of the things that were incorporated in her house and why they made a difference for her, why they might make a difference for you, and why it's important to have these elements in the house. Now, the cool thing about this is that even if you're totally healthy, there's nothing wrong with you, you don't need any kind of accessibility issue, have any kind of accessibility issues, they still make your life easier. So let's start with the one. We'll kind of go through the things that she discovered, right? So the first one that they did, her house had a beautiful front entrance, very classic looking, had stairs and everything. But the driveway went to the garage, but it also went up and behind. And the house was built on a hill. So the second floor was actually the ground floor in the back. Does that make sense? So on the front floor, the front side was lower than the back side. So the doors from the second floor also hit the ground, as did the doors on the first floor. The doors on the first floor hit the front side. The doors on the back side also hit the hillside. Does that make sense? Anyway, so they did this on purpose. Because in a wheelchair, she could still have her normal front of the house and be everything they wanted it to be. But the car could bring her up to the back of the house, and she could get in a wheelchair, because that was a wheelchair entrance. It was flat on the ground. It was, there was nothing, no obstacles to overcome, no stairs, no nothing. And that was amazing. Now, she had already found out that was a really cool thing, because guess where the movers came in? Because instead of coming in the front door and having going up a flight of stairs for all the furniture that was on the second floor and the third floor, they just came in from the second floor. Actually, we're on three. It's just 2 floors. Sorry. They just came in from the second floor, and there they were right there. The first floor was bedrooms, and each had a door open to the outside, and that door was flat. And so going into those bedrooms was really easy for moving. So something you wouldn't necessarily think about, how easy is a house to move in and out of? Well, I guarantee you, your movers look at that every day. Can they function otherwise? Absolutely. Do they appreciate it when their job is easier? Absolutely. So that was the first thing that she had. Mark, you have some pictures. Why don't we kind of go through some of the pictures, and then I can tell you how we can go through the different house things. So the next thing was her bathroom. And it's really important to have a bathroom that is wheelchair accessible. One of the biggest reasons people have to go into assisted living is because they can't use their bathroom. Now, they may be able to function everywhere else, but they can't get into their bathroom because the doorway isn't wide enough, or they can't function in the bathroom in a wheelchair because it's too small. My house was built in 1926. There's no way a wheelchair could function in here. Absolutely not. They just didn't build for that back then. So her going into her bathroom, she had room to take a shower, and there was room for the wheelchair to turn so she could go between the shower. Actually, she couldn't take a shower for a while, but she could turn the wheelchair around so she could do her little sitz bath and use the sink and use the toilet. And there's lots of room for her to function in there. One of the things you're seeing in a lot of bathrooms is zero curbs. So you walk in and the floor is all the same height, and you get these long drains in the shower. And that way it creates a much more open feel. And it also gives you a lot of flexibility of, if you happen to be in a wheelchair, you can turn the wheelchair around. So it does a lot of wonderful things. And you want to make sure that you have you have handlebars around the toilet. Now, you may not need those yet, and that's okay. If you're building your bathroom and you don't want to put the handlebars up yet, that's fine. What you do want to do is, while you're in construction, you want to put extra support there so that you can put the bars in later. Because if you just put them in the wall and you're putting all your weight on them, the drywall is not meant to hold that. It needs extra wood support. So you want to make sure that's there and it's marked, and that will help a lot. Okay, so Mark, can you make it bigger? Bigger still. Okay, a little bit bigger. All right, so here we go. So here you can see each of these rooms, there's more than enough room for a wheelchair to turn. And even with furniture, we want to make sure that there's room for the wheelchair to turn. Mark, can you blow up where the kitchen is? Actually, we're talking about bathrooms. Let's blow up a bathroom. Is there a master bathroom here? We're supposed to say primary bathroom. Sorry. I'm getting used to it. I think this bottom right corner looks like it might be. It looks like a sink. We can't do it. Okay, there's another one of a bathroom we'll get to. It's just really important that the floor plan itself allows room for a wheelchair to turn around. There's a couple smaller bathrooms here. They don't really look like they have that so well. There's a bathroom there, kind of in the middle on the left. It looks like you could back a wheelchair in there. Now, when I was growing up, we used to have concerts in our house, and we would have all kinds of people come. We'd get 60, 80 people in the house at times. And there were a few people that would be in a wheelchair. And we put out ramps out front for them, so getting them in and out of the house or the stairs was not a big deal. And my mom had polio when she was young, so the stairs were already made for her. And what she needed was the stairs to not be so high. So they were longer. The step part was longer and the rise was shorter. And that gave her the room that she needed to get in and out of the house and do it with ease. So putting a ramp over that, we already had a space that was a lower grade for the wheelchair to go up. So putting a ramp on there was easy. But the problem was when they had to go to the bathroom. So in order for them to go to the bathroom, they could not shut the door. Now you've got 80 people in a house and somebody's got to use the bathroom, and there's only, I don't know if they ever used the back bathroom, but there was one bathroom that most everybody used. So you can see this was a problem. So we had an accordion door in the hallway, and we would shut that door, and then they could go in and use the bathroom and do what they needed to do. But we literally had to shut off half the house in order for them to do that. And it was a problem. If we'd had a bathroom that was wheelchair accessible, it would have been easy. All right. So why don't we go on to the next picture, Mark? Let's see what we got.
I was going on to the next picture, but I did have a quick question for you.
Yeah.
Because my when my aunt was living, mom had a lift built so that my aunt could get in and out of the house to the outside porch. Yeah, I think that's considered the outside porch because the front porch is the other porch, and the sliding door. And my aunt actually had MS, and actually that's what she passed of. But I was just wondering, we still have the lift there, and the mom is in good shape. My brother's got some health issues right now, and everything, but still relatively good shape and everything. But how important do you think it is when you make a building accessible to keep it accessible even after the person that you might have been making it accessible for has passed on? So that's what I was going to ask you, because we still have the lift, even though the lift has not been used probably in several years now, because Aunt Carolyn, unfortunately, has been gone for a few years now. But how important do you think it is to keep accessibility there even after you have built the accessibility and the person that you built the accessibility for has passed on?
Well, see, that's kind of a tough question because there's a lot of factors involved. On one hand, if the accessibility is still serving a purpose for people in the house, that's good. The things I've talked about so far are good no matter what your health is. Now, a lift that hasn't been used, um, if it's not being used, there is a possibility that it may rust or it won't work at some point.
Right.
So, if you said your mom lives in the house too?
Mm-hmm. Mom, that's actually the reason that she built that, because
Okay.
they lived in the
Well,
same town.
we hope that nothing, your mom does not need it, and realistically, it's not a bad idea to keep it there in case she does. And the other thing too is, and this is one thing I come across a lot in my design work, is it can just be memories
Right.
that people don't want, you know? I had a client who both of her parents and her sister died in the house, and everywhere there were signs of sickness. And she had to redo everything. Now, we redid one of the bathrooms and made it ADA compliant, and she could use the shower in a wheelchair. So that was really important to her to do that because she didn't want to live in this house of sickness where things didn't work and where there was, lots of paraphernalia to try to make things work. So, and I've had lots of clients where they're like, okay, a lot of times it's the guy that dies first for a lot of reasons, but it's like they want to get rid of all the signs of illness because they need to purge the house of the illness as well. So part of that is a grief question, and as well as, is it still functional?
It makes sense, and probably got to check to see if it's still functional. The irony is that my brother is going through some of his own health concerns now, but he was the one that used to playfully tease his aunt, which is also my aunt as well, when she was going through her MS battles and everything. So sometimes you got to be careful with your teasing because it might come back and bite you on the backside. But that's
You
just
don't
my.
know. It sounds like he's using it, and it might be something that even if your mom never needs it for getting in and out of the house, it might be helpful moving groceries in and out of the house at some point. I don't know. For me, the cat litter or cat food or something like that. There's some things we buy that get kind of heavy, and so that might be an option for her. And she may not even tell you she's using it for stuff like that.
Right.
Because I suspect what you've talked about your mom, she's pretty feisty and she's not going to let you know that she's needing help. So
Yeah.
it may be that there's something there that if it's still working and that way your brother can come in and out of the house.
Yeah. Right.
he might need it. So
He might need it eventually. Right now, he's just dealing with the cane and walking stick, so he hasn't had to get to that point yet in his life, and he's still scooting around in his unique car that he has. As I told you before, he's got one of them Batmobile slingshots. So definitely,
fun.
matter of fact, they're doing because of his own connections and connections with family members to it, they're actually doing a fundraiser for MS here in Durham on the 18th. So about 3 weeks from
Very
now, they'll be
nice.
doing that, and they'll have food trucks there, and I think the slingshot people will be there, and they'll be doing maybe some other things as well in order to raise the money for that organization.
I tell you what, if you guys are doing any raffles, I will raffle off an hour of design time, and I will be happy to donate that to you.
Okay, I will definitely let him know that for sure.
Yeah, and can all be done on Zoom. So if just somebody's like, okay, how do I deal? Because everybody's disability is different. So ADA is dealing with a lot of mixed things. But I had a client who had polio, and the wheelchair bathroom didn't work for her because she could not stand in the shower. She had to sit, and so she really actually needed the tub because that was the way that she felt safe. And the chairs that they have chairs that you can sit in, that they're not sturdy enough. She needed something more solid because she had to move her weight around, and she lived by herself. So having the tub, having that be a solid piece that wasn't going to move at all to get in and out, that was actually what she needed. So it's what's going to be right for that person. Now, if you're doing your house and you're 40 and you don't have anything, then we have to go with the generic of what's the worst that could happen. And then, as things happen, we can modify it.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to put up the other plan, and I'm going to just let you continue with the discussion. But I did have the other bigger, more generic kind of floor plans that you had sent as one of the pictures as well.
Let's go back to let's not do this one. It's just too hard to read.
Okay, well, I was going to try to enlarge it, but it was too hard to read.
It's all right. Let's go. Okay, this one on the right. I wanted to do the kitchen on that one. Can you zoom in on the kitchen? Because that's a really nice kitchen.
Nice kitchen over here. Let's see if we can't get that one zoomed in.
And I can't see the bathroom right now, but the kitchen was what I wanted to focus on that one.
Yeah, I'm going to zoom in on that because I'm actually pulling that one up, and then I'll switch out on the imagery and everything. Yeah, that looks like that actually worked. I'm just going to change the where the picture is coming from and everything, and that should give us a full model and everything in that way. I do have to ask you a question just out of teasing, because you mentioned earlier this notion of people having custom designed bathrooms, and every time I turn around, people are more and more into showers these days. So I'm like, do people even still take baths, or are we in a shower economy and a shower society? Because I was beginning to wonder whether, I know that sometimes women and sometimes men like to take those lovely bubble baths, but every time I turn around, people, because of that rushing nature of society, are rushing off to get a shower. So I'm going like, I wonder if the baths are still something that people are doing as much as they used to, because it does seem like it's not as popular as it once was. I guess I'll just leave it at that.
So baths are great for little kids. I personally don't like to take a bath because the water gets cold, and I don't like I don't like sitting there in cold water, and it takes too long. So I personally am a shower person. But they have some nice bathtubs out there. So they do have bathtubs out there that will help also keep the water warm. So if you're somebody who really likes to soak, they have heaters in them so that the water stays warm. They have some with air jets. We've kind of gone through different phases. For a while, it was the jacuzzi tub. Everybody wanted that. But then they found a lot of problems with the drains and the filters, and not the filters, but the drains, and the pipes would get clogged. And so many people had these wonderful jacuzzi tubs and they never used them. And right now it's more of the soaking tub.
Right.
And so having a separate tub and having it with a nice high walls and have it be in a separate area. That's what's more popular right now. And you can get the little tiny jets. I've got a really nice tub for sale that I'd love to sell if anybody wants one with little tiny jets. So it depends on really how you live your life. For people who love baths, I had a client, we've shown her picture, the cat bathroom, the cat window, and the bath that was her everything. She took 2 or 3 baths a day. That was how she stayed sane, and was by taking baths. So I think it just depends on your personality type, how you handle stress. And even that kind of I've talked about blue people versus green people, and blue people like baths. Green people would rather go walk in a park, but people are more likely to, let's just, if I can't go to the ocean, let me sit in my bathtub. So I think it just depends on things. And right now, people are finally going out. I think there was a lot of bathtub use during COVID. I even took a few baths during COVID. And now I think people are more likely to go to the beach or something.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, because definitely that kind of connection to the water is very much important. I know that I love just the feel of the water, even on a good shower and everything. So definitely I know that is important. I did pull up the room, and I do see that it's got a breakfast room and a kitchen that we can see on this drawing. You can even see the master suite and the covered porch and all in that space. So I did pull that up, that picture. That was the one that you said was on the right.
That's not the kitchen that I wanted. So let's see. No, the kitchen I wanted had an angled island on it.
An angled island on it. Let's see if they had that.
Go up. Let's see. Go up. There we go. Okay. Let's blow up that kitchen.
I'll see if I can blow this one up. The other one was easier blown up. What's that?
Sorry.
Oh, you're good. I was going to see if we can't get that one blown up. Well, that's the actual house.
Okay, well, I can, we can work on this. So if you look at the island area, and we have some other pictures that really go into the kitchen, so we can do that. But if you look at the island area, it's really nice. There's a lot of space between where the cabinets are in the corner and workspace. So the key thing to look at is there's a 5-foot round turnabout between the island and the cabinets. And so if somebody is in a wheelchair, that's how much space they need to turn around in. So they can totally function in that kitchen. And it doesn't have to be a big kitchen. You don't have to lose your triangle. You just have to make sure that you have the space for a wheelchair to turn.
Yeah, because I sometimes wonder about that, because in one of the pictures you're going to bring up and everything, I know that a lot of times, well, I guess apartments and houses are different, because I know houses there, usually the kitchens are usually relatively large, apartments and not as much so. So I sometimes wonder, like even where I live at, a wheelchair maneuvering around, while it would be doable, it would probably be a little bit of a challenge. And I'm not saying that they don't have more wheelchair compliant units within the apartment, but I do know that where they are and how they are set up, I don't know. But I'm just going, like, if they were trying to do it in here, even getting from the door and definitely around the kitchen and the washing machine and the oven, it would be doable, but it might have to be doing some wheelies in order to make it happen, if I can use that old kind of car language and everything, because it is definitely a narrow turn that you would have to make if you were making that turn. So I'm imagining somebody trying to do it with the old-fashioned wheelie that might have to happen in order for that to maneuver. But that's just my notion looking at this relatively. I mean, it's not a small, like way small kitchen, but it's not definitely a big kitchen either.
I get it. You know what? It's amazing. I've been in some big houses, and the kitchen is apartment-sized kitchen. Right. And like really tiny kitchen. And it's like, wait a minute, you've got 4,000 square feet here. Why is the kitchen so tiny? It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't fit the house. But they've done it. I've seen it many times. And I guess they're trying to keep it cozy. Now, the lady that I told you about that used to visit our shows, she actually lived in an apartment, and it was designed for wheelchairs. And she had a little 1-bedroom apartment. It was not big at all. But they'd done things like, it was a very small kitchen, but they did things like under the sink, instead of having that be a cabinet, it it had a curtain, so she could get her wheelchair underneath the sink in order to do dishes.
Now that makes sense. And even some of the pictures that you sent were truly amazing in that way. So I would actually bring up one
Okay,
of them,
let's
and
take a look at them.
you could tell about it because it was actually one of them was a young lady that looked like she was maybe even getting her dishes done, and all in that space. And I'll bring that one up, but she is definitely plainly in a wheelchair and all in that kind of way. There was another one of a young lady that was in another kitchen environment, but in both of them, they were definitely doing a lot of amazing things while they were in their wheelchairs or other things that they had going on in that kind of space. So I'll bring this one up right now. Let's see what this one is. And maybe you can tell us about this, but that's one of them that you sent.
Okay, so this is one that's really cool. Now, I'm only 5'2", and the top shelf for me is useless because I can't reach it. But if you're stuck in a chair, you really can't reach it. Now, some people have different abilities. They might be able to stand up for a few minutes to get something. But this is a really great feature, is to have the shelves come down to a place where you can reach them. And you can also see that the countertop is a little bit lower for her there, so that she can reach. Now, here's the thing: dishwashers, unless you're going to do a dishwasher drawer, dishwashers don't come smaller. So you have to have a 36-inch height cabinet. And I can't, it looks like there's something there. I can't tell exactly what that black thing is. Can you tell, or can you blow it up? Is that a curtain, or is that a dishwasher? It's kind of wide.
It's
wide.
kind of wide. It looks like some sort of appliance. Maybe it's the refrigerator.
I don't know. Well, a refrigerator, it would have to be a refrigerator drawer. It might be like a oven.
Yeah.
So one of the things that we do as well is we put the oven, and this is an ADA thing. So a lot of people, you might do a double oven or an oven and microwave, and putting them in the wall and having them up about 18 inches from the ground. Then when you open the door and you pull out the rack, you're not lifting so much.
I'm actually going to pull up the other pictures because I went and dug up some further pictures, and maybe we can figure out exactly what it is, because there were some pictures talking about a little bit further what was going on in that space. And I do see that picture along with other pictures because they talk about how it's easily accessible to dishes and a rollout spice rack. And there is
rollout spice rack is good.
The open stove top, and then the open under sink, which is what that first picture was. And I still can't figure out what that whole item is, because there's even talking about the accessible microwave and the open prep area.
It's probably a under counter microwave, which is really nice. A lot of people use these. It's a great way. It's a great space saver, so you don't need it on your counter, and the door opens out, and then I've used them for many clients, and they're really nice. So it's easier having the wall oven and having it at a height where you don't have to lift something heavy out of it very high. That makes a big difference. That's good for people with shoulders, shoulder issues, or maybe they just can't lift as much. My mom, oh my gosh, my mom couldn't. She had polio, so she had one of her hands was kind of like this. She had to think about moving the fingers, and she could do a lot with it, but we used to make this kind of a shepherd's pie kind of thing, and it had to go in the broiler to broil the mashed potatoes at the end. And so I got to be a certain age. Jeanette, you do because it was easier for me to get stuff out of the broiler than it was for her, and it was really it was really too heavy for her. And so I went to go pick up the pan and the handle on the other side, and the handle broke, and we had dinner all over the floor. And it was really kind of funny, and we just let the dog in and said, okay, you eat what you want, we're gonna go out to dinner, we'll come back and we'll clean up whatever you don't need.
Whatever you did, the dog got his own little dessert. I do like this notion because one of the things that they were showing was a pull out dishwasher drawer.
The dishwasher drawer is really helpful, and especially if you, because it's up higher, and so you can just have it. It's much easier to load. It's much easier to unload. So that's a really big, a big thing. Having the stove be at a height that you can work on. So that is a curtain where she's got the stovetop, and that's a curtain, or it goes back, but it allows her knees to go underneath there so she can use the cooktop.
Gotcha. There is an accessible microwave, but that's actually under one of the islands, it looks like, and an open prep area. So there's a lot of stuff.
And then go back to the prep area. So this is having the pull out. So a lot of countertops are 36 inches high. Having that be down a couple inches makes a big difference. I've talked about it on here. I'm 5'2". One of my counters is 3 inches shorter because ergonomically, if you're cutting vegetables, that 3 inches makes a big difference. Now, another thing you can do is they have steps that are the toe kick. The toe kick is literally where your toes go underneath the, right? So they have steps where that toe kick, if you kick it a little bit, it's got a touch latch and it will pull out, and it can be just a step that's 3 inches tall, but that 3 inches makes it more comfortable for somebody who's small. I don't know if you ever saw Little People, Big World.
Don't think I saw that one.
So, I love houses, so I'm always looking at the house of the story house. But when they first started, the stuff that Mom was doing because Mom's like 3 something, she's barely 4 foot tall. She's not very tall. I don't remember how tall she is, but she's, let's call her 4 feet right now. And so they had some major challenges, and they did have some children that were normal height. So how do you design when you've got half the family is not of normal height and the other half is? And well, Mom's doing most of the cooking, so I always say the cook wins. But she had a step ladder. She was moving and scooting and moving and scooting and moving and scooting, and it was dangerous what she was doing.
Right.
And the show got them some money, and they're like, cool. And so they designed a kitchen that had basically 2 kitchen triangles. There was a kitchen triangle that was short, and there was a kitchen triangle that was tall, so that the children could be comfortable, because them, they didn't want them on their knees in the other area, but it wasn't dangerous for Mom to cook either. So it was really cool what they did as far as making the house be accessible for them.
It sounds like it's very accessible, and definitely some wonderful ways to do that, and all in that kind of space. You did have another picture that I was going to bring up shortly as well. So that was another one that was another house. So I'm going to bring that one up in a minute and see if we can have some conversation around that, because it looks like another woman that had a wheelchair accessible kitchen, and definitely looks like the cabinets were at a lower level on this particular picture that I'm going to bring up, because she's actually reaching up to get some dishes and all in that kind of way. But definitely see if I can't find that one and all in that kind of space, because I know I had it. Oh, there we go. And then I'll bring it up on this side as well. There we go. That's the other one that I saw that you had sent.
Yeah, see, this is real accessible. So there's the counters are lower. There's nothing underneath the counter, so the wheelchair can go under. The cabinets are much lower. You can see they're almost touching the countertop there. And that way it's accessible to everything. And I can't tell what that thing, it looks like it's movable.
Yeah.
What's that white thing? can't
Looks like
see it.
could be a small refrigerator, maybe.
It could be. It looks like it's on wheels.
Mm-hmm.
It could even be a trash can or something like that.
Oh,
Oh,
wait a minute. It's a file cabinet.
it's a trash can.
I think it's a file. Oh yeah, a compost thing. That's what it looks
Yeah.
like.
Yeah. So there's a lot of ways to function. Now here you can see the underneath the cooktop was all clear, but then there are some cabinets to hold utensils and things like that. So it's just about really keeping it clean and really understanding how do you cook.
Yeah.
The first thing when I talk to anybody about doing their kitchen is tell me what you like to cook. Tell me how you cook. I had a client once who all she made was salads, and she was redoing her kitchen, and she's like, well, I want it to be the same as it is. And I said, why? Why do you want to recreate what you already have? Do you like it? No, I hate it. I said, then why are you spending money recreating what you already know you hate?
Exactly.
And so we created a small island for her in the middle, a small island which included a refrigerator, a sink, and like a little utensil drawer for knives, so she could keep all of her salad makings in this small refrigerator. She could chop them, peel them, do all that stuff right there in the sink. And she had a utensil drawer but she loved to make smoothies. And there's room for her to put her smoothie thing and her salads, and there's room for a bowl so that she could chop into. And it was a very small little island, but it was just designed for her to make salads. And her family, they did whatever. But I said, what? And she just thought that was the greatest thing. She said, I never dreamed I could have something like this. Well, that's why you call me, because I can dream of things that are going to make your life easier and better, and that you don't think are possible. That's my job, is to make it possible.
No, definitely that's your job. You do a great job at it. I was actually going to tease this particular picture was from that same batch of photographs, but I'm thinking that this particular person, that they are fixing a soup or whatever they might be fixing in their meal, that I don't think that that meal is going to get much further than them and what they're cooking, because they look like they are sampling it as they are going along and everything. So I hope that there is not a family of 4 or a family of 3 that they're cooking for, because it might have been a short meal, because it looks like they were having way too much fun with whatever they were prepared.
Yes, and you see how the microwave is lower, so it's easy to reach, and as is the stove. That might even be a dishwasher. Is that possible?
Yeah, that is possible.
It looks like it might be a dishwasher, but you can see the oven over here, and there's a microwave over the hood. That probably is not great, but you can see and I would actually probably put that a little bit lower, because that looks to me like it would be difficult to pull something heavy out of. Like it'd be hard to pull the Thanksgiving turkey out of that. I'd want it a few inches lower to give me a little leverage. That upper arm strength to move that is going to be tight. So
I can definitely see that, and that could be an issue. But here's the microwave is right at the arm length,
right. And they do make ovens now that also have, it's not quite a microwave, but it does fast. It does the function of a microwave, but it's not. And so it does all the functions. And so you don't need as many appliances either, which in a case like this, space is very important. You don't want to, you don't have room to waste any space, because space that we would normally use underneath for things you don't have because the wheelchair's there.
Right. The wheelchair would be blocking it and everything. Oh, and this gentleman looks like he's got even a TV above his head. So he's got a full thing going on in the kitchen. It looks like an overhead TV, maybe.
I think that's a hood. I've never seen a hood like that, but I think that's a hood.
It could be a hood.
Well, the cooktop's right there, so I think it's a hood.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And you see that oven's a little bit lower.
Right.
And here we have, these are the pull-out shelves.
To pull out spice racks and things of that
Yeah.
And a very low sink that you can get the washing done and everything. Cool. That looks like that might be a little bit high for. I think that's the wine rack next to the plants. So that looks like that might be a little bit high.
That's decorative.
That's decorative, so it doesn't really matter because it's just decorative. Not really.
That.
Not really trying to get a drink there. Cool. And I know there was another batch that you sent as well, so I'm going to get to those also because I do know there was a bunch of those that were in another group.
The last one I sent you one today. Let's do that one, and
Was
then
that the Sloggy?
we're getting Schlag.
Slag. I'm sorry, mispronounced it. So yes, I'll get the Slag.
We've done a lot on bathrooms. We've done a lot on kitchens, and this will be our last picture. And there's a lot we can talk about. Obviously, we've only scraped the surface, so we'll do another session on this and other ways you can make your house be accessible and make it easier for you to live in, and no matter what's going on. And the thing too is like you were talking about with a lift, your brother may need it at some point. And I told about us having concerts, having people come over and visit, even if you never need it. If it means grandma can come into the house, or Aunt Sue can come into the house, or your best friend Molly can come visit still, it makes a big difference. So handles. When you and I grew up, most handles were round, right? And they had all the crystal, you go really back in like the 30s, they had all the crystal round knobs, which are gorgeous, right? However, if you've got arthritis, doing this is really hard.
Right.
So the levers are really easy. All you got to do is push down. You can even do it with an elbow. If you're a busy mom with a bunch of kids, the kids can go up and they can do it. Or you've got a bunch of groceries in your hand, you can literally do that with a finger, and it's not as hard as turning it. I did something to my thumb. I sprained my thumb right now, and it's amazing how much I didn't realize I used my thumb until now it hurts. And one of the things that really hurts is turning a knob and turning the car engine. Oh, that's, but we don't think about how often we do these things because we take for granted what our body does until it doesn't do it.
Right.
And so this is a real simple thing that can save a lot of pain, angst, and just adds a lot of comfort to a house.
Oh yeah, definitely. And that's something simple that adds the comfort to the house, and
it costs like nothing. I mean, compared, cost of a kitchen or a bathroom is a lot, but this is a very simple thing. And so that leads me to the next thing: is how much does all this cost? And so the question is, refitting your bathroom, it might be $20K, it might be $30K. However, if you have to go into an assisted living home, at least here in California, $3,000 is a minimum, and that's not a place you want to be in. Right. So you're looking at $5,000, $10,000. If you want someplace really nice, they're really expensive.
Oh yeah.
And so if you're looking at $5,000, let's kind of pick a medium. That's 6 months of you in your house. So if that's the only reason, and there's so many people who have to go into assisted living just because they cannot use their bathroom.
Right.
So if $30,000 will get you another year in your house, you've just made, why can't I do the math right now? You've just made $30,000.
Right. Easily.
And it paid for the cost of the bathroom. You just made $60,000 that you're not spending being in assisted living, and you get to stay in your house, which you love. Now, kitchens are usually a lot more, but again, it depends on how are you going to live. My friend who lived in a wheelchair, that was her life. She was healthy, but she just couldn't get out of the wheelchair. So it depends on what is going on in your world. How long are you going to be in the space? How long do you want to be in the space? Maybe you just want company. You want to go to assisted living. Okay, it's not worth it, right? But a lot of people really value their independence
Mhm.
and want to stay in their home as long as possible. So in that case, it's absolutely worth it.
No, and sometimes you need that independence, and sometimes there are folks that enjoy the independence of being and on their own at various ages. I want to say that Andrew, who is one of my apartment neighbors, I want to say that he's in his might be even in his 70s, if not a little bit older and everything, but he is still very much independent. Still gets around on his car, and he and one of my other apartment neighbors, in the sense of being in the same apartment complex, who is from Brazil, they oftentimes will sit there and compare notes on the gardens that they have put out. His garden is not as extravagant as hers, but he still has a nice garden and all in that space. So they will sit there and compare that part of their life. I've never been on the inside of his apartment, but I do know that he gets around and is very sociable with a lot of the people around here, and is definitely very much engaged in that community aspect. So it seems to me that that's one of the things that people like about apartment living is
Yeah.
having a community that they can be part of, and also having things that they can do, whether they're in a house or a apartment. Because I do know a number of folks in both of those environments that love their outside gardens, and I don't think we've done that much shows with those, but maybe at some point we can have a show around the outside gardens, because I know that can be an important conversation as well that people love to have. As a matter of fact, that Brazilian lady, I think she's done 3 years now of planting different plants, some that are functional that she can use for her own cooking. We were talking about cooking earlier, and some that are decorative. Because I want to say the last 3 years she's had those very tall sunflower plants. So when they're coming up in
Nice.
March or April, she might be growing another tall sunflowers plant, because she's on the first floor. And I want to say that the plant usually goes up to the second floor, so people get a nice little decorative view of those sunflowers as the plant grows, because it's not growing at that height when she first gets it, but by the time they were closer into summer and closer to fall before it goes into the cycle of life, then it is very much of a nice and tall sunflower. I think she's grown at least two of them that were amazingly tall.
Well, I have a client right now that does landscape gardening. So I might ask them and see if they'd be willing to come on and do the podcast. That would be fun.
Yeah, that would be fun to have them talk about the landscape gardening and how that can add to the whole nature of the appeal of the house and that whole color. Because I know that sometimes those garden plants can also add to a number of the color aspects of the house as well. Because like I said, I mentioned the sunflower, which is a very yellow plant. I know some other people that plant roses and other plants that are more red based, and there are some other plants that folks may want to get, like even the white dandelions and things in that kind of way. So definitely the garden can even add to something that is very important to you, which is that whole color notion.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, I
I'm
think
kind of
we've
ready to
come to the end of another show. Thank you all for watching. Thank you for joining us. And if you have any questions about your home and how to make it more accessible, how to make it just more of a healthy home for you, I'd love to help you. It's thecolorwhisperer.com. And I would love to be able to assist you in any way possible. Thank you.
It's non-stop. I won't fold, I won't drop until we on top. Only going non-stop, non-stop. I won't fold, I won't drop until we on top. Only going non-stop.
I want to thank everyone for coming to the 2020 TAF Awards. This was a show like no other, people. This is the Grammys for dignitaries, educators, and support staff around the state of Oklahoma and worldwide. We cannot do this without the support of the people. So we thank you, I thank you, for being such a dedicated supporter to this movement for the Teachers Appreciation Foundation. I thank you.
It's non-stop. I won't fold, I won't drop until we on top. Only going non-stop.
You know how people love to enjoy food and don't understand how to flavor their food or how to replicate a meal? They're interested in supplements but don't know where to begin? Well, what I do is I take the guesswork out of enjoying flavor and wellness with my flavorful spice blends so that they can create delicious meals with healing benefits. Can Do Spice was created to help cooks at any level enjoy healing through food. Every spice blend was designed to give added health benefits of natural herbs. Every blend is complete. There's no need to add any additional spice for a delicious meal. Saving you time and money while adding supplements to your meals can be both tasty and fun. My earliest memories in the kitchen began with my father, Kenny Can Do Bond, so it was fitting that I would name this line after him. I have always looked to natural remedies to supplement the body, and I found myself hiding herbs and minerals in foods for my family. That's when it hit me. Everyone needs Can Do Spice. Everyone should be having this. It's an exclusive brand for cooks at any level who want to create flavorful dishes with healing benefits that can satisfy the body and soul. Add a little spice to your life. Give Can Do Spice a try.